Carter Hayes, a rugged single father struggling to provide for his daughter Lily, lives a quiet life of sacrifice and grit. Everything changes when he saves a powerful CEO, Emily Sterling, from a runaway truck in a split-second act of heroism. Emily, shaken and moved by Carter's selflessness, seeks him out, curious about the man who risked his life for a stranger. As their worlds collide, Carter and Emily form an unlikely connection rooted in vulnerability and mutual respect. But their growing bond threatens the expectations of Emily's elite world and challenges Carter's deep-seated belief that he'll never be enough for someone like her. Their journey is one of slow-burning passion, social divide, and emotional transformation, as both must decide whether love is worth defying everything they've ever known. This is a story you will want to sit back and enjoy. Before we start, I would like you to subscribe, like and comment on this video from where you are watching from. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories. Let us begin. The summer sun burned low on the horizon, casting a golden haze over Main Street, but Carter Hayes barely noticed. His boots scuffed the pavement with the drag of a man too tired to care. Another double shift behind him, and all he could think about was home. Home, and Lily's sleepy smile as he tucked her in with the same lullaby his wife used to hum. His back ached, his shirt clung to him with the staleness of the day, but he kept walking. He always kept going until the sound shattered the silence. Metal, screaming tires, shouts. He turned. A delivery truck was barreling down the hill, brakes screeching, the driver's face pale with helpless panic. And then he saw it. A sleek black SUV stalled in the middle of the intersection, its driver oblivious to the danger hurtling toward her. People shouted from sidewalks, but the SUV remained still. In the driver's seat, a woman, frozen, framed by the glass like a still painting. Chestnut hair, terrified eyes, paralyzed. Carter didn't think. He dropped his bag and ran. The truck roared like thunder behind him as he sprinted toward her, dodging cars and ignoring the sharp sting in his knee from an old injury. He reached the door, yanked it open, grabbed her arm. "Come on!" he barked. She resisted, dazed, blinking at him like he'd appeared out of smoke. The truck was seconds away. With one last pull, he dragged her from the car, throwing them both onto the concrete as the truck thundered past, missing them by a breath and plowing into a lamppost with a violent crash. And then, silence. He lay on his back, lungs heaving, heart trying to punch. Through his ribs, the woman stirred beside him, shaken, alive. "You okay?" he rasped. She turned to him slowly, as if waking from a nightmare. I think so," she whispered. For the first time, Carter got a good look at her. Not just beautiful, regal, out of place on this street, like she'd stepped out of a magazine and into his reality. She blinked at him again, her voice hoarse. "You saved my life." Before he could respond, a crowd began to gather. Sirens wailed in the distance. Carter sat up, wincing from the pain blooming in his shoulder. "I have to go," he muttered, already pushing to his feet. "But wait, please, what's your name?" He paused, meeting her eyes. "Carter," he said, and then walked away. He didn't know her name, didn't know the way this one moment would unravel everything safe and certain in his life. All he knew was that he couldn't afford to get involved with someone like her, and yet her voice followed him home. Emily Sterling had faced million-dollar mergers and media scandals without flinching, but none of it compared to the moment she looked death in the eye and was pulled back by calloused hands and steel blue eyes. She'd Googled him that same night. Carter Hayes, construction worker, lives on the east side, widowed, single father. The articles were sparse, mostly from an old local paper that had covered a charity fundraiser in which Carter's daughter Lily had sung for her elementary school. The photo showed a younger Carter beside a little girl with wild curls and a gap-toothed grin. He looked tired even then, but proud. Solid. Emily had stared at the photo longer than she cared to admit. Her assistant, Vanessa, looked like she might faint when Emily breezed into the office the next morning and said, "I need you to find someone. I'm sure. A new investor." "No, a man. His name is Carter Hayes. I need to speak to him, personally." Vanessa blinked twice before nodding slowly. "Right, I'll get on that." 3 hours later, Emily stood outside a modest brick apartment building in East Side Heights, the kind of place she hadn't stepped foot in since college internships and cheap ramen dinners. The hallway smelled of dust and floor wax. She climbed the stairs, each step a battle between nerves and resolve. Unit 3C. She raised her hand, hesitated, then knocked. Silence. She knocked again, harder this time. She was about to leave when the door creaked open. And there he was. Carter looked surprised and not entirely pleased. He held the door with one hand, wearing a faded t-shirt and jeans streaked with dried paint. His other arm protectively blocked the view inside. His voice was low, guarded. "What are you doing here?" "I wanted to thank you. Properly. I told you I'm not interested in... I'm not offering you money," she cut in. "Just a conversation. Maybe a coffee, please." He looked at her for a long beat. She saw the flicker of conflict in his eyes, like he was weighing every reason not to let her in. Then came the softest voice from inside. "Daddy, who is it?" Carter stiffened. Emily's breath caught. A little girl peeked around his leg. 7 or 8, with dark curls and wide hazel eyes that mirrored her father's. Emily smiled instinctively. "Hi, I'm Emily." The girl looked up at her father. "Is she your friend?" Carter sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "She's someone I helped." Emily watched the tension in his shoulders, the protectiveness. He wasn't just a man doing his best. He was a father carrying the world on his back. "Look," she said gently, "I know I'm probably the last person you want in your life right now, but something happened in that intersection that neither of us can ignore. At least let me say thank you." He studied her again, then stepped aside just enough to let her in. She stepped over the threshold, feeling the strange tug of two worlds colliding in a room that smelled like lavender detergent and homemade soup. And for a moment, it felt like something fragile and new had just begun to breathe. Carter hadn't planned on letting Emily into his apartment or into his life, but there was something about the way she spoke, like she wasn't used to asking for anything, and yet had asked him anyway. They talked over lukewarm coffee at his kitchen table while Lily sat cross-legged in the living room with crayons and a picture book. Emily's gaze kept drifting toward her. "She's beautiful," she murmured. "She's everything," Carter said without thinking. Emily looked down at her cup. "I envy that, having something or someone that gives life meaning." He watched her carefully. "Don't you?" She gave a hollow laugh. "Shareholders aren't quite the same." The moment lingered, quiet, curious, laced with the faintest pull of something neither of them dared name. But peace is a fragile thing. That night, as Carter tucked Lily into bed, Emily returned to her penthouse, poured herself a glass of wine, and stared out the window of her 42nd floor suite. Her phone buzzed. "Vanessa, we have a problem. Call me now." Emily frowned and called immediately. Vanessa answered on the first ring. "Someone saw you at the East Side building. A photo was taken." Emily froze. "What? It's already making rounds in a gossip blog. CEO visits mystery man in East Side Heights. They're speculating. Some are digging into who he is. Carter's name hasn't hit the headlines yet, but it's a matter of time." Emily's stomach turned. "Damn it! You need to get ahead of this," Vanessa urged, "or the board will." "I'll handle it," Emily said, voice clipped. But handling it wasn't that easy. By morning, the story had caught fire. A grainy photo of her walking into the apartment building led every business gossip blog. Stock chatter had already begun. Investors were asking questions, and worse, Carter found out. He stood on his porch, phone in hand, staring at the headlines. Ice Queen's mystery flame. Billionaire CEO seen slumming it with construction worker. His jaw clenched. He looked up to see a camera flash across the street. Someone had followed him. Lily tugged on his shirt. "Daddy, why are people taking pictures of you?" His chest ached. He knelt in front of her, trying to shield her from the window. "Because some people don't have manners." That night, Emily showed up again. Carter didn't answer the door, so she waited. In the rain, he finally opened it, jaw tight, eyes guarded. "You lied," he said. "I didn't lie. You didn't warn me that this would happen, that just talking to you would drag my daughter into the spotlight. I didn't know it would spiral so fast. You did know your world eats people like me alive," he snapped, "and you still let it touch mine." She swallowed, guilt tightening her throat. "I never meant to hurt you or Lily. I'll fix this." Carter shook his head. "You can't fix what doesn't belong to you." She took a step forward. "Please, let me..." But he cut her off, eyes like steel. "Go home, Emily." And with that, the door shut between them. End of Chapter 3. Cliffhanger. For Chapter 4. The next morning, Carter found a note taped to his truck's windshield. No name, just bold, typed letters. "Take the money, or your daughter's school photos go public." He stared at the message, breath caught in his throat. It wasn't just attention now, it was blackmail. Carter stared at the note for what felt like hours. The words on the paper burned into his brain. "Take the money, or your daughter's school. Photos go public." He crushed it in his hand. This wasn't gossip anymore. This was a threat, a line crossed. He drove straight to Lily's school. She was safe, giggling in her classroom, unaware that someone out there saw her as leverage. He kept it that way. Then he went to the police. They listened, they nodded. They took the note and made a report. But Carter could already hear it in the officer's voice. The doubt, the hesitancy. Like a single father from the East Side reporting blackmail from a billionaire's world didn't quite add up. "We'll do what we can," they said. It wasn't enough. So Carter did the one thing he swore he wouldn't do. He called her Emily. Answered on the second ring. "Carter, I need to see you," he said. "Now." When she arrived, he didn't waste time. He handed her a copy of the note, and for the first time since they'd met, Emily looked afraid. "Jesus," she whispered. "You said you'd fix it," he said. "Fix it." Emily's mind raced. "Give me a day, I'll find out who's behind." "This? Who would do this?" he asked, jaw clenched. She didn't want to tell him what she suspected, that in her world power came with enemies. That some of them didn't care who got caught in the crossfire, that some of them used children as pawns. Instead, she said, "I know someone. He's discreet and very, very good." Later that night, Emily sat in her office downtown. The city lights stretched endlessly behind her, but her attention was on the man across from her, a fixer known only as Dalton. "Dig into this. Quietly," she said, sliding the note across the table. "And find out who's threatening him. I don't care what it takes." Dalton lifted a brow. "You're personally involved? I'm not explaining myself." "Understood." As he left, Emily stood alone, the weight of the threat settling heavy on her shoulders. But she wasn't the only one unraveling. Back in East Side Heights, Carter found something else when he got home, this time on his front porch, a manila envelope. Inside, 10 printed photos of Lily at school, on the playground, even inside their apartment's hallway, and a new note. "Last warning, take the deal or we escalate." His hands shook, but there was something else, a phone number scribbled on the back. Carter picked up the phone, then paused. Whoever he called, there was no going back. Carter stood frozen, the dial tone humming in his ear. "We're not after you, we're after her. Emily." He barely locked the door before he grabbed his jacket and raced for the subway. The cold night air slapped his face as he moved, but nothing chilled him like the thought of Emily in danger. Because Of him, or maybe because of who she was. He reached her penthouse just as her security guard was being loaded into an ambulance, blood seeping through his shirt. Carter shoved through the door. "Emily!" She stepped out from behind the kitchen counter, bruised lip, hair disheveled, but alive. "Carter!" she breathed, stunned to see him. They were already inside. He wrapped her in his arms instinctively, but the questions came fast. "Who are they?" he demanded. "What do they want from you?" Emily looked at him like the truth might break them both. "My father built Carter Corp on blood money," she said finally. "He covered it up. A lot of people paid the price. People like Dalton, who used to clean up the mess. I thought I could change the legacy, make it right. But someone's trying to bury the past by going after the future. And now they're using you and Lily." Carter took it in, his breath shallow. "You should have told me. I was trying to protect you," she whispered. "I never meant to drag you into this." Too late. Just then the lights cut out. The apartment plunged into darkness. Emily grabbed Carter's hand. "They'll come for you next," she said. "We need to disappear." "Where?" She hesitated. "I know a place. They left the city behind. No drivers, no phones, no trail. An abandoned property her grandfather once owned upstate. Silent. Safe. For now." There, as a fire crackled and wind howled through the trees, Carter sat across from her. "Why me?" he asked quietly. "You're a CEO. You have everything. Why risk it all?" Emily looked at him, eyes soft but steady. "Because you saw me when no one else did," she said. "And because for the first time in my life, someone didn't want anything from me except the truth." The moment stretched, raw, real, and just as Carter reached for her hand, a shadow moved outside, followed by a single gunshot. Carter tackled Emily to the ground. Heart racing, another shot rang out, shattering the window behind them. Outside, headlights cut through the night, tires crunching over gravel. Carter peeked through the broken pane. 3 men. Suits. One of them held a silencer. "Get Lily out," he hissed. "Now!" Emily nodded and rushed upstairs where the girl slept soundly. Carter found the old hunting rifle mounted above the fireplace, probably never used. He didn't care. He loaded it with trembling hands. The first man stepped onto the porch. Carter fired, a blast of light and smoke, and the man dropped. That gave them seconds. Emily ran down with Lily in her arms, pale and terrified. "There's a back path through." "The woods," she said. "My grandfather used it during Prohibition." Carter nodded. "Go. I'll cover you." "Carter, go." He kissed Lily's forehead, then Emily's lips. "Don't stop running." She did, through the trees, down, into the dark, damp forest. Behind them, more gunfire. Carter fought, then fled, leading the rest of the attackers away from them. When it was done, police sirens screamed in the distance. Helicopters, flashing lights. The media frenzy that followed was brutal, but it exposed everything. Fraud, cover-ups, conspiracies. Names that once ruled the stock market were now etched in indictments. Emily came forward publicly, testifying before Congress. She didn't flinch. Carter refused any spotlight. He went home to Lily and laid low, his life upended, but intact. Wait, ensure to subscribe, like, and comment on this story. Thank you. 3 months later, a knock came on his apartment door. He opened it, and there she was, Emily, no longer a CEO, just a woman. "I lost everything," she said softly, "but it was the first time I felt free." He stepped aside. "You didn't lose everything," he replied. She smiled, and just like that, she walked inside. Epilogue. Home isn't a place. 6 months later, upstate New York. The little house wasn't grand. The porch creaked, the mailbox leaned, and the yard still needed a fence, but to Carter, it was everything. Lily chased butterflies barefoot through the tall grass. her laughter floating through the spring air. Emily sat on the porch steps, a paperback in hand, the late sun warming her skin. No boardrooms, no press conferences, just peace. Carter stepped out with 2 mugs of coffee, handing her one. "You still make it too strong," she teased. "And you still water it down like a heathen," he smirked. She leaned her head on his shoulder. It hadn't been easy. The fallout from the trial left her with nothing but her name, and even that had been bruised. But she'd found a new purpose, teaching business ethics at a local college, helping students learn the value of truth over power. Carter had gone back to carpentry, built custom furniture out of a workshop behind the house, each piece signed C. Reed & Co. The & Co. was a nod to Lily. She often brought him lemonade while he worked. Some nights were still haunted by what they'd lived through, but the scars, though real, no longer controlled them. They were reminders of how far they'd come and how much they'd rebuilt. "You ever miss the city?" Carter asked, watching the sky blush pink and gold. Emily shook her head. "I used to think success was owning the skyline. Now I think it's having a front yard and someone to share coffee with." He smiled and kissed her temple. Lily ran up to them, cheeks flushed, holding a dandelion puff. "Make a wish, Daddy." He knelt down and closed his eyes. Emily did the same, and together they blew the seeds into the wind, like old ghosts finally let go. The wind carried them away across fields and into the trees where shadows once lingered. Now only light remained.